Welcome back to another video. In today's second stimulus check update, I want to tell you what has been confirmed. Something has been confirmed and I want to bring you that news in today's video. Also, I want to explain what you must know regarding the second stimulus check, and I also want to talk about a $1,000 hazard pay you may not be aware of. So if you stick around for this entire video, one thing I'm going to explain at the end of this video is 3 recession-proof businesses that you should start today. So if you're ready to jump into today's video, let's begin. So I know you are dying to hear what has been confirmed. Well, what has been confirmed is that the government does not care about the American people. They just don't care. Let me give you an example of this. So Larry Kudlow, the White House economic advisor, did an interview yesterday. So he did an interview yesterday and he revealed what the Senate Republicans are trying to do. Now, in this interview, he was simply asked, are you expecting the next stimulus check to be smaller and to a smaller portion of Americans? He responded with that kind of economic assistance should be more targeted. Well, the reporter ended up cutting off Larry Kudlow and says, so yes. And Larry Kudlow responds with, I guess that's a yes. Now, first off, this kind of thinking is what is going to ruin the American economy. This kind of thinking is going to put a lot of people behind on bills. This type of thinking is going to make and probably increase the death rate. This kind of thinking is going to prolong this entire pandemic. There is a lot of stuff wrong with this type of thinking. Now, it also makes no sense to me how people who live in a more expensive city, who pay a little bit more for things like housing and food and electricity and all that stuff, and at the same time they only get paid slightly more than other people in other cities. So just because you are above the $40,000 threshold, that cap, you may be cut out entirely of the next stimulus check. So that just confirms the government does not care about the American people. They only care about those that make more money. They only care about those that are wealthier, the rich Americans. Not only did Larry Kudlow confirm that the government does not really care about all Americans, he also confirmed by saying the Senate is going to review the possibility of an even smaller stimulus check. Now, that wasn't an exact quote, but that's pretty much what he was saying. So the $1,200 stimulus check that you were thinking you could potentially get because you make under $40,000 as an individual or over $80,000 as a married couple filing jointly, you may not get $1,200. You may only get $1,000, $800, $600, $500, whatever they decide to throw at you. Now, any help is going to be beneficial, but here's the problem. We have been in this pandemic for almost 4 months. We are coming up on 4 months since the CARES Act was passed. Okay, this was passed about 4 months ago. We received stimulus checks almost 3 months ago. So here's the problem. They gave us $1,200 and they expect $1,200 to last 3 or 4 months? Are you kidding me? $1,200 for most people will not last even one single month. And it wasn't the American people that said, we need to stay home, we need to stay quarantined. It was the government that told us, stay home, stay safe, wear a mask. Well, people have been trying to do that. But now, with COVID cases increasing, people can't do that simply because they need to go back to work. They need to have some type of normalcy in their lives. So because of that, if the government wants to get rid of this pandemic like other countries have done so quickly, the best way to do it, you gotta give the American people, and not just the people under $40,000 cap, you gotta give them a second stimulus check. And it needs to be well over $1,200. $1,200 is not going to cut it. And I can tell you right now, $800 is just gonna make most Americans mad. Now, if that doesn't make you mad enough already, and if that doesn't confirm that the government does not care about the American people, let me tell you this. Economists predict that if this passes, roughly 20 million middle-class Americans will be excluded from this next stimulus check. That means that 20 million middle-class Americans might fall into poverty, might lose out on other things, like they might get their home foreclosed on, they might get evicted if they haven't already. So this does not just affect the people making under $40,000. This can affect people that make $100,000. Just because you make more money does not mean your expenses are still low. Just because you live in an expensive city does not mean your cost of living is really low. Just because your rent is $4,000 a month does not mean a gallon of milk costs $1.99, right? Costs do go up. Now, here's the other thing. This just shows the government is trying to cut costs at the expense of the American people. But why do the rich get richer and the poor and middle class Americans have to struggle? Now, my family's fairly well off, okay? We're fairly well off. I'm not saying we're rich, we're not poor. Yeah, but I'd say that we're middle class. I do make a fairly good living, but here's the thing. I am still for the poor, the middle class, because those are the people that work the most. They may not be the richest people in the world. However, there's more of those people that are keeping this economy running than the rich people are. Yeah, the rich people may be, writing the paychecks. But here's the thing. If that rich person wasn't writing the paycheck, somebody else would. Some middle class American or some poor person, who technically poor or lower income person, would start a business and would start running and creating some company. So just because the rich person isn't doing it doesn't mean it's not going to get done. Now, I know I went off on a little rant there. Sorry about that. But that's just the way I feel. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Just this week we learned that Kanye West received millions of dollars for his company Yeezy Inc. And this money was received in PPP loans. Now, what you need to understand about this PPP program is that the government is allowing that loan to be forgiven. There's a portion of that loan you do not have to pay back as long as you use that money for expenses like payroll, expenses like rent, lease payments, things like that. Now, I don't want to get into everything that's in the PPP loan and how that money can be forgiven. However, I just want to state that this is money that you and I have paid in through our taxes that the government is giving out to a billionaire. Kanye West is technically a billionaire. And he is taking money from the government, free money that he can use. He's technically allowed, based on what they stated, he can take this money and use it to run his business. The problem is, you and I are paying for that. You and I are paying to pay for his employees to run his company and make him more money. I have an issue with that. Not only that, Jeff Koons, who's an artist, okay, he's a sculptor. He received between $1 and $2 million in PPP funding. Last year alone, he sold one piece of work, and he sold it for $91 million. Guess who he sold this piece of work to, this sculpture? He sold it to Robert Mnuchin. You're probably thinking, Mnuchin, I've heard that. Who is that? Well, Robert Mnuchin is the Treasury Secretary's dad. Yes, he's Stephen Mnuchin's father. And he ended up buying a sculpture from Jeff Koons last year for $91 million. Do you see why there's a big issue here? People who make a lot of money are receiving this PPP loan, this funding, which can be forgiven, that you and I are paying for. That's a problem. So that confirms the government doesn't care about the poor and middle class Americans. They care about the rich, the wealthy. And that's why the rich keep on getting richer. Now, let's get into some good news. There is some good news in this video. I know it's not all bad news. It's not all about the second stimulus check. Most of it is, because that's the big thing that people are worried about. They're praying for. They're hoping the government steps up, gets off their butt, gets off their vacation, gets back to work, and helps out the American people. But there is some good news. There is some good news in regards to a $1,000 hazard pay bonus. Now, this hazard pay is in the state of Michigan. A few days ago, Michigan started accepting applications for hazard pay. Now, this is good. And I think this is really good. Applicants can be accepted, or applications will be accepted from July 7th through September 30th. On September 30th, or after September 30th, that is when the application process closes and people will start receiving, or the companies will start receiving their money for paying for this hazard pay. Now, here's what you need to understand. This is only for the state of Michigan right now. But this is just right now. I think this will catch on across multiple other states, because there are some states out there, for example, Washington, for example. I live in Washington State. What we do here in Washington State, Governor Jay Inslee, he decides, okay, if California is doing that, I think that's a good idea. We're going to do what California does. And so we kind of just copy what California does. Well, there's a lot of states that are going to do that, I think, in regards to what's happening in Michigan. Michigan, they are going to give hazard pay up to $1,000 per employee. They're going to give that to people that are police officers, firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics, and people that work in those fields. So I think this is really good. I think this is a great starting point. Now, this doesn't cover all essential workers. I think an essential worker is somebody that has been working through this pandemic in a business where it is essential they're open. For example, a grocery store, a hospital, a clinic, all essential. Just because they're not a police officer, a firefighter, an EMT, or a paramedic does not mean they're not essential. But this is the way this is written, and this is the way it works as of right now. So this is a $100 million bill that they're going to give out, and the employees will receive this $1,000 per employee, but that's if the employer actually goes and fills out an application. Again, it's for the employer, not for the employee. So if you live in Michigan, you need to let your employer know, hey, we need to do this. We need to do this because I want $1,000 hazard pay. I need it. I deserve it. So again, even though you don't live in Michigan, you can't count this out, because a lot of states will copy what other states are currently doing. If one state sees, especially neighboring states, if they see, oh, this state's doing it, we need to catch up. We need to do this. I think this could catch on. It could kind of be a cycle. It could snowball, and multiple states could be doing this and jumping on board. I think that's a good thing, and hopefully it happens, because I know a lot of you essential workers, first off, thank you for getting out there and just working. But I know a lot of you people are risking your lives, risking your health to help out the U.S. economy. Obviously, put money in your bank, put food on the table, keep a roof over your head. But in the long run, it is helping out the economy. So I want to thank you for doing that. Now, at this point, essential workers probably won't get anything from the U.S. government. It probably just won't happen. But that doesn't mean their state won't do anything. But really, we're just going to have to wait and see how this all pans out. Now, before I get to the last piece of work here in this video, where I show you, or kind of talk to you about the 3 recession-proof businesses you should start right now, I first just want to ask if you learned anything from this video. If you're just glad I'm giving you a stimulus check update every single day, please do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button, as it just helps out the video. But the last thing I want to address are the 3 recession-proof businesses you must start right now. Now, the other day, last night, I published a video. It's kind of more of an impromptu video. I just wanted to get this out there because a lot of people have been asking, what business should I start right now? If I'm working from home, if I have an internet connection, what should I do? Well, I give you 3 recession-proof businesses you can start and you must start right now. And that link to that video is down in the description box below. That will be the second link down below. So make sure you go and check that out. Now, if you have any questions whatsoever in regards to the second stimulus check or even the stimulus package, please let me know what your questions are down in the comment section below. I'm trying to read as many comments as I possibly can every single day. And also, I'm creating these videos based off of what you ask in previous videos. So if you have a question you're dying to get an answer to, please ask it down in the comment section below. But again, if you enjoyed today's video and you learned something, smash that thumbs up button. As always, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys on the next one.